Namaste everyone, welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. The ongoing sessions are on Bhagavad Gita from an Advaita perspective offered by Bindoji. We are on chapter 4. The replays of all the previous rooms are available in Clubhouse. You can access them in the house if you go back to check the replays. Or the other sources are a YouTube channel called Advaita Retold. The link is pasted in the chat. And so are the links for Spotify and Apple Podcast. There is also a book penned by Artemisia titled Imaginary Door, and that's been published, which is based on Bindoji's insights into how one can approach Advaita. And the books are available on Amazon. The links are also shared. I will be closing the chat window and hand raising when Bindoji is connecting the class, after which we'll open up those channels for you to ask questions or come and have a talk. As always, thank you, Bindoji. Over to you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hari Om to all of you. Let me do my invocation. Om Namo Brahma Dibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrubhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashi Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmiti Murti Veda Vivagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namah. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Gita Dhyana Slokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyai Stavai Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgadena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyandam Naviduh Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Oh. We are on the 14th verse, which we completed almost. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha idimam yo abhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. Actions do not taint me. For me there is no desire for the results of actions. One who knows me thus does not become bound by the actions. So we discussed this in detail with the Shankara's Bhashya in this thing. 2 points which we need to further add to that is the Jivan Mukta as a living being. From this verse, Shankaracharya is portraying a Jivan Mukta, liberated while living. He is essentially a living embodiment of this 14th verse as per the practice of living. He acts, which is driven by the body, driven by the prarabdha. Karmas continue at the vyavahara or empirical level. But karmani na limpanti. Actions leave no samskara or impressions because kartrutva abhimana is dissolved in him. He doesn't have the feeling that I am the doer. He sees it as a sakshi. And as a sakshi, when he is seeing, he is not associating himself as the doer. And na karma phale spriha. No phala akanksha. Nor even motivation that for action. Action arises from prarabdha and what is to be done for the loka sangraha. And even the Loka Sangraha is not a desire in him. It is he who is living it, because as an example, he has to set forth for others to get motivated for the jnana. So even after having achieved that knowledge, jnana, he continues to work. That may be called a Loka Sangraha, but actually he has no desire to do a Loka Sangraha. Therefore, karma bhi na badyate. Therefore, no karma is binding him. No new bandha is generated. The existing prarabdha runs its course and terminates without any renewal of the body and the janma. So, Jivan Mukta thus a human actualization of the Parameshwara principle declared in the 13th and 14th verse. Kartaram api kartaram, appearing to act, even essentially being a non-doer, apparently subject to karma, essentially unsustained, alepa. This is the full circle of teaching of 13 and 14th by Krishna. One who abhijanati, one who knows this of the nature of Paramatma or Parameshwara, is in a state of jnana, or he is called a jnani. And this jnani, when he lives as per this principles of akartrutvam, avyayam, alepa and avijna, he lives as a Jivan Mukta, who is what Parameshwara declared himself to be. Krishna is saying that is, when he said that it is not touching him, he doesn't have a spriha. All is to explain that he is a Jivan Mukta in action. It also, as per Shankaracharya, gives a direction that only moksha can be achieved through jnana. Karma bhi na badyate, when it is said that not bound by karma, is the definitive proof that knowledge alone can do the liberation, or liberation comes from jnana alone, not from karma, however refined or great it is, or upasana, however sustained or devotional it is. The verse explicitly state that the instrument of liberation is nothing but abhijna, the knowledge of Parameshwara's akartrutva, non-doership. So, but if you look at karma, we will see that however refined it is, there is a kartrutva or a doership, or as a egoistic involvement in the action. You now consider the upasana or devotion, however sustained or the level of divinity or being devoted to. There also, I am the one who is a upasaka, that thought will be there. Only when we have that kartar api akartrutva, while action but no doership, and karmani na limpanti, that the actions do not taint him or affect him, and karma phale spriha, and he doesn't have any desire in the fruits of action, yet he is in action. That is kartaram api akarta. That is the knowledge which Krishna is asking one should develop, or one should have it. And that is the only liberating instrument, abhijna. The explicit endorsement of Jnana Marga's supremacy, anticipating Jnana Yoga Prakarana in this chapter, which is exclusively devoted to this Abhijna, is from verse number 33 to 42, towards the end of this chapter, where Jnana Agni and Jnana Now, etc. are being taught by Krishna. The Bhashya goes like this: Namam tani karmani limpanti. Those actions do not taint or bind me. Dehadhi arambhakatvena. They do not produce bodies and other effects for me. Dehadi arambhakatvena ahangara abhavat. And because it doesn't create that, there is no egoistic notion that I am the doer, and that would initiate bodies similar results. If the notion is there that I am the doer, that will initiate the bodies and the similar results. Nacha tesham karmanam phaleshu me mama spriha trishna. Nor do I have any desire or craving for the results of those actions. When I am not even a doer, where will the craving for the results of those actions can happen? Yesham tu samsarinam ahankarta iti abhimana karmasu. Those worldly beings who have the egoistic notion that I am the doer, with respect to actions, they have this. Spriha tat phaleshucha. And those who have the desires for the results of those actions. Tan karmani limbanti iti yuktam. And that is why it is said that appropriation, that the actions bind them, both the action and the results. Tad abhavat namam karmani limbanti. In the absence of these factors, they do not bind me. Or there is absent, in me they are absent. Iti evam yaha anya api mam atmatvena abhijanati. That word atmatvena is important here. Anyone who knows me as his own self, not knowing Krishna is like that, is going to give you any benefit out of it. Krishna is telling this to Arjuna to understand that one who knows me in this form, Krishna, Arjuna, you have known me as your friend, as a Yadava king, as your mother's, relation with you, and all the Vanavasa and all those things we spent and life together. All those things you may be remembering about me, but you do not know me until I tell you that these things are my nature. I am a non-doer. I don't have a doership, yet you have seen me in action. I am neither interested in the fruits of action, because those actions outcome are not of my interest. They are being performed not with a doership, but for the what you call the duty as what he has born in, as a what you call dharma samsthapanarthaya. That is the purpose for which he has taken birth. So that is the execution through the instrument of his body. So not only that, you also have to know that your own self is also like that. So not only know me like that, know your own self is also like that. Na aham karta na me karma phale spriha iti. Recognizing that I am not the doer and I have no desire of the fruits of action. This should be your recognition also, Arjuna, in you, because you are not this body, physical body, mind and intellect. You are the Atma. One who knows like me like that, sa karma bhi na badhyate. he too is not bound by actions, just as I am not bound by my actions. Tasya apicha dehadik arambagani karmani bhavanti. For him also actions do not produce bodies or similar consequence. If you know that, then you are also a being where the karmas do not bind you, and then when they do not bind you, no samskara is created in you, and when there is no samskara created in you, you do not have punarjanma. Ityartha. So this is the explanation for the 14th verse. Shankara explains that the actions do not bind Krishna because he has neither the egoistic notion of doership nor desire for results. Similarly, anyone who realizes the self of his own as the non-doer and free from craving becomes unbound by actions and is freed from the cycle of birth and death. Naham karta name karma phale spruha iti. If what Krishna has told. So in the 15th verse he is explaining this as a smriti and shruti as the means of knowledge. Or rather, he is giving the explanation of the previous people who have done this and succeeded in not having punarjanma. So the 15th verse goes like this. Evam nyatva kritam karma purvahirabi mumukshubihi uru karmaiva tasmatvam purvaihi purvataram kritam. Let us split the words. Evam, in this manner, means refers to what has been taught in the 13th and 14th teaching. That is the referring to the previous one. Nyatva is having known or after knowing like that, indicating a what you call information or a knowledge which has been referred earlier, prior. Kritam karma. Karma is action, done, performed, accomplished. So in this manner, action done, performed, if it is known, nyatva, means here it is saying that the actions done by those who lived earlier than your time, Arjuna, they knew that the actions have been performed in this manner, means akartrutva, avyaya, etc. Nas karma spriha, na karma phale spriha. This is the one which he is referring to. Urvai api mumukshubihi, by those who desirous of liberation or by moksha, those who are desired in having moksha. Api means is also indeed, even by the ancients or even by the purvajas. Urvai means ancestors, predecessors, or those who lived in the former times. Kuru karma eva tasmad tvam. Kuru karma. Here is an injunction, a direct imperative statement. Do act or do perform. Karma means action. What action? Your swadharma. What you are born for is to establish dharma in this world. Just as dharma samsthapanartham is my purpose of living, taking birth, you also as a kshatriya has a role to play for the dharma yuddha. So action, do perform. Eva, indeed, or precisely or certainly. Tasmat tvam, therefore, you, purvai purvataram kritam, by the ancient or more anciently or even earlier than the earlier, immediate past, they have done the same thing. So what Krishna is saying that not only your immediate purvajas, right from the time of creation onwards, everyone who are in the parampara, who are in the tradition and desirous of moksha, has performed actions with the knowledge, abhijna, of that their self is akarta and they do not have any desire for the fruits of action, and that is why how they have achieved their moksha. And you also do the same way. Therefore, tvam, you also kuru. Kuru means perform. The verses 13 and 14 establish that Parameshwara is akarta, avyaya, despite appearing as a karta who created Chadurvarnya, and he has said that Vidhi akartaram, you should know me that I am not the person who is having the doership in creating the Chadurvarnya, etc. And in the 14th verse, both the grounds have been mentioned, that akartritva from na limpanti karmani na karma phale spriha. The fruits of action or the action itself. Therefore, karma vahi na badhyate. Therefore, I am not bound by those actions. Therefore, 15th verse, which we just read, moves from know this vidhi or abhijanati, which was in 13th and 14th verse, to a definitive action. Kuru means do this. From jnana back to action. But now karma has been transformed by jnana. That's the only difference. Therefore, he first said about what are the things to be known in the 13th and 14th verse before asking Arjuna to get into action. It is here where Krishna directly addresses Arjuna's situation as Tvam Kuru Karma. After the long theological prakarana from first verse to 14th verse, grounding the injunction to act with two proof. Historical precedent, Purvavair Mumukshubhi Kritam, mean liberation seekers of the past acted in the same manner. And the quality of that precedent, Purvai Purvataram Kritam, the most ancient or the most authoritative predecessors did first, which was followed by your predecessors. So the verse, it has got a subtle but a crucial Advaitic synthesis. Karma is not a path to liberation or a moksha sadhana in its own right. It is being recommended as an expression of jnana, which has been just established. Evam jnatva kritam. That is important in the statement. Having known in this manner, actions were performed by your predecessors and the predecessors before that. Therefore, the jnana precedes the transformation from karta to akarta. You can become an akarta or a non-doership, akartrutva, as a bhava or as a nature. can happen only if it is preceded by the jnana. This is the Gita's characteristic non-abandonment of action combined with transformation of its inner basis. That is why Gita, unlike the Upanishads, where they talk only about the philosophical aspects, Gita is a handbook for living with the right knowledge. In the event of absence of the right knowledge, Gita is misunderstood by many. And then, therefore, they blame Gita. They have got all misplaced ideas about the Gita. When Krishna said Evam in the 4.9, Evam yo veti tattvataha, whoever knows me in this manner, or in the 10th verse, Evam agada, the verb Evam, the adverb Evam, in this manner, makes a precise reference to the previous 9 and 10 to the current 13 and 14. Therefore, akartaram avyayam is Parameshwara's akartrutva and avyayatvam. Na limpanti na spriha is again Parameshwara, is unstained by or untainted by the karma and no desire for the phala. Abhijanati na bhadyate. One who knows the Parameshwara in this form is not bound by the action after the knowledge. Having known this, or having known Parameshwara as Akarta and having recognized one's own Pratyekatma or one's own self as Akarta, this specific Tattva-jnana, this knowledge about the truth, as the operative ground, then action can be performed. How come the self becomes the Akarta in each one of us? For this, we have to know what is the action Krishna is talking about. From the 16th verse to the 23rd verse, he is giving all karmas which we should know in detail. We will go to the 16th verse. We will take up one by one. So he is using a word, kritam karma. Actions were performed by the predecessors. The agency is deliberately de-emphasized here, consistent with the akartrutva teaching. The purvas, or the people earlier to him, did not perform action as kartas. Means they did not perform with the abhimana that I am the doer, or the ego that I am the doer. Action was performed appearing to be done through the purvas instruments, while they themselves remained akarta and paramarthika truth in the abidance in the self. Evam jnatva kritam karma. So the predecessors did not perform action and then attained jnana. They first attained jnana, evam jnatva, and then performed the action, kritam karma, as an expression of jnana. This is exactly where Shankaracharya uses this as an anti-mimamsa reading also. Karma alone does not generate moksha. Karma performed after and grounded in jnana is compatible for moksha, because it does not generate new karma lepana or new binding due to creation of samskaras. But the liberating element is the jnana and not the karma itself. Shankaracharya notes the structural parallel with 14. Ye abhijanati na badhyate. Whoever knows me in this form is not bound. To this verse where evam jnatva kritam karma. Having known thus, action was performed without bondage by the Purva Mumukshus or the Arjuna's predecessors. In both the places, the knowledge is preceding and the binding or the karma is following that. The Purva Mumukshus knew Jnatva, Purva knew and acted, Kritam, and were not bound by them, by the karmas. This precedent is often offered to Arjuna as the model for his own situation. That is why Krishna, when he started his addressing Arjuna in the 11th verse of the 2nd chapter, Ashotyan anya shojastum prajnavan sansya bhashase. So when he said that, he has started giving the knowledge to Arjuna. Then he spoke about the karma. When Arjuna got confused, he asked about how does the Sthita Prajna look like? One who knows the truth and yet performs in the world. So that is what the teaching is as a picturization. The word Purva carries significant philosophical weight in the Vedanta tradition because it echoes Puratana or the ancient time-transcending quality in this teaching. It invokes the Guru Parambara, Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshvaku, Rajarshis, the lineage of those who knew and acted in this jnana. It also establishes the authoritative precedent of Aptavachana, the most powerful form of validation in the Vedantic epistemological framework, which is called the Shabdam, from the means of the generation of knowledge produced by jnana, produced by the word. Or here the word does not mean the sound alone. It is even the knowledge or information about how your parampara or the Guru Parampara or Purvajas also performed their path to liberation, mumukshutva. One who desires specifically, one who intensely, actively, continuously desiring liberation is called a mumukshu. Not merely curious about it and driven by the Tivra Mumukshutva, intense desire of liberation. It is not a casual desire to know liberation. What is liberation? How does liberation look like? How does a jnani behave? How does he feel about behaving, acting in this world? These are all curiosity. It is not stemmed from your own ardent desire to achieve that. Only when we have that seriousness to experience and be like a Jivan Mukta, we are serious about liberation. Otherwise, what did Ramana Maharshi do? What did Ramakrishna Paramahamsa do? What did Nisargadatta do? Or what did Rama do? What did Krishna do? These are all curiosity. But not driven by the intense desire for liberation. So Mumukshu is the fourth and culminating member of Sadhana Chatushtaya in the qualification for the Advaitic knowledge. Viveka Vairagya Shatka Sampatti Mumukshutva. The Mumukshutva is fully qualified Vedantic Adhikari, one whose Antakarana is sufficiently purified through the Satkambati to receive and act upon Brahma Vidya with the Viveka Vairagya. And what is taught from the Purvaihi, means from the ancient Mumukshus, they become the Gurus. Even by the ancient Mumukshus, the word api in this verse is inclusive or emphatic about it is not just by ordinary people, not just by those who acting in the worldly means, but even by those seeking liberation was in action and has performed. This subtly answers the potential objection. If jnana alone liberates, why should the mumukshu act at all? That is why it is answered, even the ancient mumukshus, those who urgently seeking mumukshutva, was very much active in the world. Purvai api mumukshubihi, in this verse, that is the historical validation from the evam jnatva kritam karma, that principle. Therefore, Shankaracharya identifies the Purva Mumukshus as Rajarshis, Rajarshayoho Viduhu in the second verse. Janaka, Ashwapati and others who knew Avyaya Yoga and continued to rule and act in this world. Purvai Purvataram, that is Vivekshwan Mumu Ikshvagu, which was mentioned in the first verse itself. The primordial parampara who transmitted the yoga of Avyaya Yoga while acting in the cosmic or royal roles they were endowed with. Then Jivan Muktas across the tradition. Those who, having attained the Brahmajnana, continued to act for Loka Sangraha, welfare of the world, which was mentioned in the 20th verse of the previous chapter, 3rd chapter. And these never generated a new karma bandha in spite of being active in this world. These mumukshus were not acting in order to attain liberation, but they were acting having already oriented themselves toward the liberation through jnana. The mumukshutva, or the nature of liberation, preceded the karma. The karma was a natural continuation of their embodied existence rather than as a sadhana which is generating a karma phala in the form of moksha. This is the model Arjuna is being offered by Krishna now. Act as a mumukshu with the knowledge, not as a karmin seeking karmaja siddhi, root of action. And Krishna is giving a direct injunction, imperative, the most direct imperative injunction. Do, perform, act. Guru karmani. Direct, unequivocal command to act. Klaibhyam masmagada partha naitat toye upapadyate. Do not yield to the unmanliness was addressed to Arjuna against his paralysis when Krishna addressed him in that 3rd verse, even before talking about Ashocha and Anya Shochastu. And there is here a karma eva. The eva is an emphatic word used here. Do action indeed, certainly or precisely in this manner. There are two functions. Emphatic, do action. There is no question about it. No alternative being given here. At the same time, it is restrictive or inclusive about do karma, action in the world, specifically as a Kshatriya Dharma, O Arjuna, is what is being enjoyed or dictated by Krishna. Tasma, therefore, because of everything that has been established in the 13th and 14th verse, and that because of the precedent of Purva Mumukshus, even your predecessors have acted after the knowledge. You do, therefore you do action. The Tasmat makes the imperative Kuru, the logical conclusion of the preceding Jnana teaching. It is not an arbitrary comment, but a necessary practical consequence of what has been philosophically established not only by our Krishna statement, but by living examples of the predecessors of Arjuna. Therefore, having known now the reality that yourself, your Pratyagatma, is akarta, non-doer, but kuru, do the action with the knowledge. And here in this one, tvam kuru is used. You, tvam is an emphatic pronoun used making Arjuna specifically and personally as the addressee. After the cosmic complete narration from first verse to the 14th verse, up to predominal parampara, avatara, cosmic law, akartrutva, etc., etc., Krishna now zooms in to Arjuna's specific attention. You, Arjuna, right here, right now, therefore do the action. Kuru karma eva tasmat tvam is a direct pragmatic conclusion of the entire prakarana, which is both the avatara and akartrutva, which Krishna has been teaching Arjuna. Therefore, the tasmat, as collecting the entire argument from 13th to 15th and delivering it as a single practical imperative instruction to Arjuna. Parameshwara acts Srijami Sambhavami through akartrutva, which was mentioned in the 6th and 13th verse, which is the cosmic precedent. But Purva Mumukshus acted evam jnatva kritam karma, the human precedent, not cosmic precedent, the human precedent. Action do not bind when kartrutva abhimana and phalaspriha are absent. This is the philosophical principle. Therefore, with all these 3 points in your mind, O Arjuna, you have to do the action which you are bound to do. He didn't say, Tasmad Yudhyasva Bharata. No. To fight is not what Krishna told Arjuna. He told Arjuna to do the action. Therefore, you do the action for which you are born for. Which karma is being enjoyed? Kuru karma refers to Arjuna's specific Swadharma, the Kshatriya Dharma of fighting the just war, Dharma Yuddha, not action in general. Therefore, the karma which Krishna has referred is the Swadharma. Therefore, karma becomes Swadharma. The karma enjoyed is always contextually determined by the Swadharma. In the 35th sloka of 3rd chapter, it was established, Shreyan Swadharmo Viguna Paradharma Masya Swanushthitat. So, between the two dharmas, Swadharma and Paradharma, even if it is Viguna in the case of Swadharma, the fighting, the injunction, Kuru, Karma, is now being told to Arjuna, armed with the Tattvajnana of Akartrutva. The Purvataram word is more ancient manner from the earlier times. Even the great temporal priority is a philosophically resonant construction by Purvaihi Purvataram Kritam. By the ancient, it was done even more anciently. Purva Mumukshus performed the action having known their own predecessors. So did the Purvataram is the word earlier than that, establishing an infinite regress of precedent, thus ultimately reaches back to the primordial parampara starting with Vivaswan, Manu, Ikshagu, etc. So Purvai by ancient, the Mumukshus of the previous pada, Purvataram Kritam is done by more anciently by those who are preceded even before them. So the verse divides two parallel movements, historical movement first line and the practical injunction in the second line. Evam jnatva karma kritam purvaihi api mumukshubhihi means having known thus action was performed by even the ancient mumukshus. Tasmat tvam kuru karma eva. Therefore you do the action. That action. What? Yat purvaihi purvataram kritam, which was performed even more anciently by even their predecessors. So the synthesis is starting with evam jnatva. The jnana karma is the synthetic resolution of apparent tension between jnana nishta and karma nishta, which Krishna introduced in the third chapter. Dve nishte veditavya jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. That is the one which is resolution, not a combination. Because karma samuchaya is not what is being told here. The karma samuchaya will happen if the akartrutva is not known. Then you will have a kartrutva, and then jnana as a knowledge can be followed, and that also becomes a karma, which Shankaracharya explicitly rejects. But for transformation, karma performed act of jnana and grounded in jnana of the akartrutva becomes no longer a karma in the bandha generating sense. It will not be binding at all. It is the natural activity of a Jivan Mukta, whose Pratyagatma is recognized as Akarta while Prarabdha driven body continues to act. And the specific term Mumukshubhihi is to locate Arjuna in the parampara, sadhana spectrum, or Arjuna's crisis, which was mentioned in detail in chapter 1. His collapse of Viveka, Shoka, Moha, etc. are the temporary obstructions of the Mumukshutva, which he actually possesses, but was now deluded. The entire Gita teaching, starting with the Ashotya Nanya Shochastam, the 11th verse of the second chapter onwards, have been progressively reawakening Arjuna's this desire for liberation. First, Krishna resorted to giving the Viveka from the 11th verse of the second chapter to 38th verse. Then establishing Karma Yoga from the 39th verse to 3rd chapter ending, the entire 3rd chapter. Revealing Parameshwara's nature was done in the 4th chapter from 1st verse to 14th verse. And in this verse, 15th verse, Krishna treats Arjuna as a mumukshu. The one who has heard jnana, understands akartrutva, is now ready to act as his purva mumukshus, rajarshis, acted. Evam jnatva kuru karma. That is the way in which the whole picture is being built by the Gitakara. Purvai Purvataram Kritam as a validating argument reflects this epistemological methodology. Apta Vachana, testimony of the reliable authorities. Shruti Smriti Apta Purusha. And that is a valid pramana, means of knowledge. The chain Purva and Purvataram invokes both Smriti level Aptavajana when he mentions his immediate predecessors like Mumukshus, Rajarshi, Sakti. But at the Shruti level Aptavajana is the cosmic parampara when he talks about Vivikshwan, Ikshwagu, etc. And ultimately Krishna's own precedence, this thing. Together they constitute the maximum epistemological authority. An action being enjoyed by the entire lineage of reliable authorities in this parampara. Therefore, Tasmat is a completing the prakarana or this category of teaching which the practical art. From the 1st verse, 3rd verse, he taught Avyaya Yoga Parampara, establishing teaching's authority. Then 4th verse to the 8th verse was purely on Avatara Prakarana, having established about the teaching and why. The 9th to 12th, the 3 verses were fruit of Tattvajnana and the spectrum of Mama Vartma and Vartande Manushya Partha Sarvasha. In the 13th and 14th verse, Akartrutva and its soteriological consequences. Therefore, Arjuna, you have to act. And Tvam Kuru is the most personal imperative statement Krishna can make to Arjuna. Because the conclusion is delivered directly to the one person who most needs it, who is none other than Arjuna, who was paralyzed in the battlefield. So action enjoyed is not blind activity, but most fully conscious, jnana saturated action. Evam jnatva kritam karma. Action performed in full recognition of non-doership. Modeled on Krishna himself, who creates the entire cosmic orders while remaining as the non-doer and avyaya, imperishable. This is the karma yoga in its fullest expression. And it is what the rest of the chapter 16 to 23 and 23 to 24 to 33, 33 to 42. How it is systematically illumined is that karma vichara, what are the type of karma, etc., is being discussed from the 16th to 23rd verse. Then Krishna moves to the Yajna Prakarana. How the karma can be converted into a Yajna. Yajnato karmano anyatra. That we studied earlier. That how it is practical is being explained in the verses starting with 24 up to 33rd. And how will it be effective is only when you have that jnana. And therefore the jnana yoga is being described by Krishna between the verse 33rd and 42nd, which crowns the chapter with the declaration, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. There is nothing here as purifying as jnana. There are only 3 or 4 sentences in the Bhashya directly. Evam jnatva kritam karma purvai api atikrandai mumukshuvi. Knowing this truth, actions were performed even by seekers of liberation in ancient times. Kuru tena karmam evam tum. Therefore, you too perform action. Nam tushnim asanam na api sannyasam kartavya. You should not remain inactive, nor should you adapt to renunciation of action. Tasmattum purvairapi anishtitatvad. Therefore, you should act since it was practiced and demonstrated by your predecessors before you. Yadi anatmatnyaha tvam tada atmashuddhyartam. If you are not yet the knower of the self, then act for the purification of the mind. That is, if you are not having the necessary qualification to understand the akartrutva and the avyayatva of our Krishna's what statement is there in the 13th and 14th chapter. If that is not understood and you still feel you are not knowing yourself, at least do the actions in that way to purify the mind. Tattvavitya loka sangrahartha. But if you are a knower of the truth, then act for the welfare and stability of the world without the kartrutva bhavana or the doership in you. Purvai janagadibihi purvataram kritam na adhunatanam kritam nirvirtitam. This was done previously by ancient kings such as Janaka. It is not something newly introduced to you. So, he has given examples of Janaka and other extinguished dealers. They understood the nature of self, yet they continued to perform in the duty. Therefore, as Arjuna, you must act. You should not remain inactive, prematurely renounce action by throwing your bows and arrows. Instead, you must perform karma appropriate to your situation. The 2 cases which are in the Bhashya, Shankaracharya is saying, if Arjuna is not self-realized, then action is necessary for purifying the mind. Atma Shuddhirtha. Which Karma Yoga removes the attachment, the ego and the selfish desires, which prepares for the mind for Jnana Nishta. But if Arjuna is already knows the truth which Krishna has been teaching him, then action must continue for Loka Sangraha or maintenance of the world. A realized person acts without selfish motives. And serving becomes an example for others. He is giving the example of Janaka and the famous king in the Upanishad, which shows that the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Yajnavalkya and Janaka dialogue, who possessed the self-knowledge, yet performed the royal responsibilities, similar to Arjuna's predecessors. Thus, he represents the action without bondage. And in the summary, Shankaracharya explains that even ancient seekers of liberation performed the actions after understanding the nature of the self. Therefore, you, Arjuna, you must also act. If he is not yet realized, action will purify Arjuna's mind. But if Arjuna is realized, action will serve the welfare of the world, and examples set by Janaka will be the ancient people whom here Krishna was referring to. Tatra karmam chet kartavyam twadvajanadeva karomyaham kim visheshitena purvai purvataram kridam ityuchyate yasmat mahat vaishamyam karmani katam kim karma kima karmeti kavayo atra mohita tatte karma pravekshami yajnatva mokshase ashubhat. 16th verse. What is karma? What is akarma? Even the ancient rishis were deluded by that. Tat karmam pravishyami. Now I will teach you about what is karma. Yat jnatva, knowing which, ashubhat mokshase, you will be liberated from the ashubha, from the bad. We will see this verse tomorrow, the 16th verse tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Binduji. I've opened the chat and hand raising for any. I'm sure there should be a lot of questions because you're for the first time listening. It is a mind-bending exercise, Binduji. Going from jnana to karma, karma to jnana, and how this can be transmitted, right? Yes. Thank you very much. So this chapter, Binduji, so you have to keep back referring to the earlier, right? The jnana nishta and the karma nishta.
Yes. See, this is where I had to bring in the earlier references in between and keep reminding what has been told by Krishna in the previous verses and how the picture is being built by Vyasa, keeping Arjuna and Krishna as examples for us to understand. If we go by verse, our mentality will be to decipher only that particular verse. But when we bring in the references from the earlier verses, also future verses where it is being referred again, the picture becomes a totally different one rather than a narrow study of a particular verse. This is why we need to play forward and backward and bring those relevant verses. At least when I am referring these verses, numbers and everything, those who are familiar with Gita will be able to immediately recollect the verses. That's why if those who are not able to do that, at least I am giving those key terms which are being mentioned in those verses, so that immediately you can refer, okay, this was told right. Because Gita should never be studied a single verse at a time. When that is being studied, unless we have the total picture, what Krishna told earlier, we will be taking that particular verse not in its full clarity, but with a limited understanding. In fact, your question was very, very valid, and I hope others are able to understand the importance of your question.
Yes, thank you, Binduji. This definitely, there's no way of just imbibing that, right? So you have to kind of immerse yourself, immerse your listening with this aptitude. There's a new aptitude that is being, so you can think of it. I'm seeing it as a very strong, maybe it is just from your language. The pedagogy is so, so clarified from all the other noise that can accumulate. So I think, thank you very much for this. It's a very deep interpretation of that state of learning, right, or knowing. Thank you very much, Bhagavad.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste, Uma.
Namaskar, Vinduji.
Namaste. You have any question?
Not that. I just want to ask your permission because last time I listened to you after a long time. I haven't heard your voice. And during that, I took the initiative to make picture from my own light transmission and with your voice. So I want to ask your permission properly because last time you didn't add me yet. So this time I just want to come up to bow to your heart and all of you to keep giving Dharma to other. And I want to ask your permission for your voice for that light transmission with my link that I will put in the chat. But if you not allow it, I will delete it, Vinuji. It's on my IG right now because me being sensitive to someone's voice is since young age. So I just want to bow to you and ask your permission for that. Thank you.
Please, go ahead.
Yes.
May God bless you.
Namaskar.
Namaste. Thank you so much. So get ready for knowing what is karma, kim akarma. We will start that tomorrow. And all confusions, because Krishna himself said, Kavayo atra mohita. Kavaya means those who are dirga drishti, or with vision. Those who are with vision also got deluded by what is karma and what is akarma. So that is what Krishna is going to teach us from 16 to 23rd verse. And then 24 to 33 is the yoga, yajnartha, how the karma becomes a yajna. And then the final 10 verses are on the jnana marga. It's a very important chapter in the entire Bhagavad Gita, next to the second chapter. That's why I'm taking time, doing only one verse at a time, so that rushing through this will be not doing justice to Gita. Not only that, lot of terminologies which are being referred in this particular chapter, if not understood properly, we will be not able to understand Krishna's statement which are to follow in the subsequent chapters. That is why the terminologies which Krishna is introducing this chapter is so important. So if you have no questions or anything, we will wind up. Continue tomorrow.
Okay, Bindoji. Let's continue tomorrow. So we meet again at 8:30 p.m. IST tomorrow. As always, the replays are available. So please, as Bindoji has reminded us, this is going to be a very intense, deep aspect of participation. So the replays are available in Clubhouse, or you can go into the YouTube channel, which is very well cataloged. And as always, thank you, Bindoji. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Uma. And thank you all for listening. Let us continue our study of Gita tomorrow. See you all tomorrow. Hari Om. Good night.
Hari Om.